Hello, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we are making jackfruit crab cakes. There is no crab in it. Technically it's a vegan recipe, but I am using eggs because I forgot to buy flaxseed. So I'm making a vegetarian version of a vegan recipe, but you can obviously, if you're vegan, you probably have egg substitutes on hand naturally. I have eggs on hand naturally. So when I forget something, I use what I have on hand. And you might be saying, Aaron, that doesn't sound very Halloween-y. Which, first off, I'm wearing orange and black, so that kind of makes it Halloween themed. But that's not the food. This was recommended by a friend, and I told them, well, I'm doing Halloween stuff, so we'll have to wait to do that. And then I'm probably gonna do Thanksgiving stuff next month, and then I'll probably do December stuff. So this isn't gonna be until like January that I'll get around to doing this recommendation. And then they hit me with jack-o'-lantern fruit, or jackfruit-o'-lantern. I can't remember which way they did it. It was a good enough pun that I'm like, sold, I'll give it a go. It's crab cakes, and also the shirt is the Orioles, which is the Maryland state bird, and also a baseball team in Maryland. And so Maryland Pride on display today for something claiming to be a crab cake. It better deliver. Which it does call for Old Bay being in it, so already a good start. I've also not had crab cakes in about 7 or 8 years, because I know it was a little bit before I was diagnosed. And then obviously after being diagnosed, I haven't had crab cakes because I haven't made crab cakes. But all of that being said, now that I've made like sardine kind of crab cakes-ish, and then I'm making these, I'm gonna need to make actual crab cakes here, not too far in the distant future. Look forward to that, and then we will see how that stacks up to all of these imitation ones, because obviously I'm comparing these to what I remember crab cakes being, but it's been so long, maybe I've forgotten. But I mean, crabs are delicious, so like, it's tough to compete with that. Yeah, I should probably stop rambling, because I rambled a lot in the last technically 2 videos, which made them 2 videos instead of 1. So I'll stop talking, and then we'll run through the ingredients and get into cooking. A can of jackfruit, green onions, green bell pepper, panko breadcrumbs. Well, I'm realizing it now, but I thought these were normal breadcrumbs, but they're also panko. So, just more panko breadcrumbs. Sorry. Cayenne pepper, soy sauce, 2 eggs, or if you want it to be vegan, flaxseed eggs. Salt, onion powder, garlic powder, pepper, and Old Bay. The first step is going to be to cook the green peppers and the onions in a kind of frying pan on medium heat until everything's kind of nice and soft. I will note it's green onions. I said that in the ingredients, but I personally grabbed a normal onion, was about to chop it before I re-looked at the recipe. So green onions, not normal onions, and you should be good to go. The next step is going to be to just pretty much put all of the ingredients together. We're gonna be mixing that up. I will note that the jackfruit, it doesn't say if it should be drained or not, but it does mention that you need to kind of separate the hard bits from the kind of stringy bits, and then also remove any seeds that are in there. So I'm guessing the brine is being removed along with kind of that. I'm not gonna show you that process because if anybody has, I believe it's called like trypophobia, this would set you off because these things kind of gross looking. Like in my head I was picturing kind of like pulled pork where it becomes stringy, but they're more kind of like tubular. And so they just kind of look a little creepy. I don't have that. I think it's trypophobia. After hearing about it and then like looking up images and stuff like that that freak those people out, I understand how it can look kind of gross. So be warned, if you have that and you're making this, wear a blindfold while doing it. I don't know, just a little warning there, a little PSA. Like I said, just kind of put everything together and then give it a nice little mix. The next step is going to be to form the patties out of the kind of jackfruit crab cake mix that we have. So just quarter cup, like measuring cup, and scoop those out, then form them into patties using your hands, and then kind of set aside. Now in a cast iron pan, I think you can use any pan, but the recipe recommends cast iron. We're going to heat up the oil, so just kind of let that go for a few minutes on, I believe it's low to medium, or medium low. Which word goes first? I'm not sure. Saying it out loud, I'm pretty sure the recipe said low medium, but saying it out loud, I feel like it should be medium low. But you don't really say the big thing first, like you say like 1 to 3 things. You don't say 3 to 1 things. Anyway, let that heat up. Then we're gonna put the patties in and cook them for about 4 to 5 minutes per side, obviously going for kind of like a golden brown finish. And then we want to, after they finish cooking, put them on like a paper towel on a plate, let that kind of soak up some of the excess oil and let them cool for a few minutes before actually, digging in and eating. All right, so here we have it. All the jackfruit crab cakes are done. I personally think they look pretty spot on. I guess like the stringiness, like if it was like a little bit shorter, might make it seem a little bit more like shredded crab meat. But visually to me, if you didn't tell me that it wasn't crab cakes, I'd probably be like, seems like crab cakes. So we have one singled out. This shall be our taste tester, and we shall find out. I am curious, I will say a little note before we get into it. Fair bit of cayenne pepper, which I didn't really realize how much it was until I kind of scooped it. Because typically recipes are like 1/4 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. This was a whole teaspoon. So we're gonna see what spice levels are like. And then also, fair bit of salt. That might be to counteract some like the sweetness from the jackfruit to make it kind of more in the salty kind of crab department of things, like because it's supposed to be seafood. But you have salt itself, you have soy sauce, and then the Old Bay is fairly salty. I'm curious to see the spice level. Is it too salty? Stuff like that. I don't think the egg should really affect anything. If it to me at least, might give it like a better flavor, just because I like the taste of eggs versus, I've had flaxseed a few times. Well, I think I've had toasted flaxseed, so I might be skewed from that. So I don't know what like flavor like normal flaxseed would have being like an egg substitute, but I'm hoping that doesn't throw anything off. I don't think it should in terms of like making it taste like a crab cake or not. Actually, this probably would make it taste more like a crab cake because actual crab cakes probably use eggs. All right, so why don't we get into the taste test and then see how those predictions pan out. Holds together. Hindsight, I feel like I should have tasted what jackfruit tastes like from like before I mixed it in and like did things to it. Because after having the taste test, I don't like taste the jackfruit per se. But that's the thing, is I don't know what it tastes like. All I really taste is the spices, and then the, like, I guess the texture of the crab cake is there. Like it has like good crunch from the pan frying, and then the breadcrumbs and stuff like that like give it that kind of crab cake consistency. However, the jackfruit, I'm not really sure what it's doing beyond, I think it might just be like visually to trick you. Like I don't really get any taste that I wasn't expecting from the seasoning in there. And I even tried like pulling out like a little bit, but obviously it's kind of been caked in with stuff and it didn't really have much of a standout flavor on its own. So I'm kind of curious. I obviously use it all, so maybe I'll have to go like buy more or something like that. What jackfruit tastes like on its own, because in here I'm not really noticing it, because it's the only thing that I haven't had that went into this. But that being said, it's good, but I feel like they should more of a side dish. I feel like they almost kind of need like some kind of like sauce or something like that, similar to the sardine fish cakes that we made. Definitely tasty. I'm curious to see like if I just swap the jackfruit out for crab meat, how will that go versus like an actual crab cake recipe. But yeah, tasty. I think they'd be like a good side to something. They wouldn't necessarily be like a dinner main course item like a crab cake could be, but not bad. In terms of saltiness, I wouldn't say that's overpowering. The spice is definitely there, but it's not too much. Like I can feel it like lingering on my tongue, but I'm not desperate for water or anything like that. I would say probably fine leaving it. You could probably tone the cayenne pepper back a smidge, but I suspect based on what I'm tasting, you don't want to go too far or else you kind of lose the whole point of having the cayenne pepper in there. Overall, pretty tasty. I think I said that a few times, but like I want to balance out the criticism that I was giving it with this is good. I'm just at like not sure of how the jackfruit plays into things. I thought because it's in the title, I thought it was gonna be like the star of the show. But yeah, so tasty, give it a go. Obviously, if you're vegan, don't use the eggs, but beyond that, I didn't really change the recipe up too much. Well, I did have the issue of I thought I had normal breadcrumbs when I used panko for both of them. I don't know, obviously crab would be a good swap for the jackfruit, but like I'm trying to think of other things that you could use this recipe and then swap the jackfruit out for. Like I kind of want to try kielbasa for some reason. Like in my head, that sounds tasty, but I don't know. So maybe I'll give that a go at some point and let you know. Ooh, or bacon. I'm just like trying to think of like meats that would go in that like aren't crab. If you feel me, shredded chicken might be an interesting option. All right, so tasty, give it a go. Just don't expect it to be like a main course dinner, in my opinion, because I'm probably gonna go eat like 4 of these at least, and then probably something else to kind of get me filled up. So on that note, bye mom, still not dead. See ya.